So one thing that is so important when you're building that hardcore community is just time. Is just when you've been putting in the episodes, you've putting in the reps for just so many years. It takes time to build that community, and it takes time for people to warm to you. And so there's just like being an OG, doing it for a long time is what builds that hardcore community.
All right, man, let's kick off. All right, second time around. I'm excited for this. Nice and chill. Take it easy and see how we get on, right? But first, where I want to start is you're back competing. So, someone with a top 0.01% physique has a business, has his house, has everything sorted. Why are you putting yourself through that again?
So life has been amazing recently. It's been a bit too good recently. And I feel I need to punish myself. I need to repent for my sins. I need to go through something really difficult. And it's been a while since, I truly challenged myself. And so, 2019, I was the last time I planned to compete. 2020, world shut down, no crowds. 2021, more of the same. 2022, I was building this villa, so that took up all my focus. This year, I've ran out of excuses, and it has to be done. And I put up a poll on my Instagram, and I was like, do you want to see me compete again? And it was like 80 to 90% yes. And I'm like, sometimes I forget my audience is like, it's 90% male, and it's like all people who are training hard, lifting weights, who want to get lean, who want to build muscle. They're not like, a Joe Wicks jumping around your living room doing aerobics. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just not my audience. Like my audience love the hardcore training. They love, to see me push myself. And so I was surprised that like 80% were like, yes, compete. Because it's like some audiences are like, no, self-love, sustainable. My audience are like, yes, Rob, let's go.
Fuck that.
So I was like, oh shit, here it goes. So I said I'm going to do it again. And the timing's perfect. February, March, April, competing May 13th. It's just like right before summer. And I think this is a great time to go monk mode. And even on that monk mode note, so you've probably seen tons of videos recently of people doing their like take on monk mode, the benefits of it and what it is. And, it's basically just living like a monk, living strict, working on yourself, ultimate self-improvement. And like a lot of business, SMMA type of people would do monk mode videos. But I actually think the truest form of monk mode is bodybuilding prep. It's like you're literally living so routinely. You're like weighing out your oats. And so I remember the last time I prepped, I was so productive. Like I'm so productive. I'm like, there's no nights out, there's no hangovers. You're just so fresh. You're on the ball. You're dieting in a deficit, so you feel kind of light. Like I find when I'm bulking or in a gaining phase, I'm actually more unproductive and I feel sluggish. So I said, this is just a perfect time to not only, hone in on business. Again, I'm relaunching Fuel Cakes. So it's not only a perfect time for that, it's a perfect time to step on stage again.
When I was checking out Goggins' latest book, he was saying that he felt that he was quite complacent with being this, a guy who did Moab, he did 240, and now 5 years later, he's kind of doing fuck all. He's getting rich, he's doing these talks, he's in big companies and all this. Did you feel an element of you might be getting kind of complacent because you were going through the motions maybe and just attaining a great physique?
Yeah. Oh no, completely. Like life is great. Beautiful girlfriend, great business, things going well, work with great brands. Got a big villa in Marbella. I'm like, my brain was like, you're done, your
Yeah,
thing. And I'm like, no.
you've made it.
Yeah, you made it. Young Rob, if he saw me now, he'd be like, what the hell? So I'm like, shit. And there's actually like one of the first ever videos, like I'm like a child in it. And I'm getting like doing motivational talks, thinking I've got it all figured out. But honestly, I did watch it. Like I love looking back at my old videos. And I was saying, like, never let yourself get complacent, because there's always someone who isn't complacent, who's rising at the top, trying to get to the top. And, the wolf at the back of the pack is the hungriest. So you got to stay hungry to stay on top. So that's something I did notice myself doing. Came my own worst enemy. I didn't take my advice. So I said, okay, now it's time to snap out of it. everything's done and it's time to go back to my old ways.
Hmm. Like that drive is not really a normal drive you see, especially an Irish culture drive. So a lot of people will be like, you're making fucking 2K a month or 3K a month. You should be happy with that. And then when you get to 6K a month, you're like, oh, that's enough. And you've built the business, you built the brand, you got the 10K followers or whatever. Where do you think that drive has come from to be always looking forward? Like who were the people that were giving you that motivation up your ass when you could have become a bit more chill about things?
It was when I was living that kind of, I hate to like say, because it sounds like I'm talking down on it, like a 9 to 5 life. It was when I was like living on different terms. And again, if that's the life you want to live, there's no problem. But it was when I was like working in that office job, working in the hours 9 to 6, and I just fucking hated my life. Like I actually was like, is this it? Like I was like, no way. Like, is this actually all I'm cut out for? Like, am I never going to like do something that I'm like so excited about, that scares me, that pumps me up? And so that feeling, I'll never forget how I felt every day waking up. And that's just a
Mm.
feeling that I always remind myself of, and that I just don't ever want to go through.
Mm. Yeah, and I think using that kind of like a enemy, the enemy of yourself, like I don't want to be that person, I don't want to go back to the job. That gives you the motivation, you know.
Yeah.
One of your
There's actually a brilliant one. Okay. And it's like, how do I say this? It's like the using negativity to
Yeah, yeah.
motivate you. So it's like, I'm usually very positive guy, but this is a funny tool to use. And let me word this correctly. Think of the worst possible outcome that could ever happen to you. The worst thing ever. Think of like how you would hate your life. How would you literally like your not your ideal life, your worst life? Okay, use that to motivate you.
Mhm.
Because use that is like the opposite of positivity. Use that horrible vision to motivate you. Say, I'm never doing that. So that's
Yeah,
it's a
man.
little antithesis to positivity.
And you can use like a fucking boss, like a really shit boss, or like when someone told you. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story. Like when I started my agency like last year, a guy reached out to me. I was doing like calling, whatever, and he sent me back like a 20-line message, pretty much like debunking my entire business. And it was very helpful. And I make a load of changes as a result. And I always say it helpful. And I always say I'll message him like one day being it. But I remember looking at being like, fuck this bastard in the time. You're
Yeah,
like, fuck this. But it gives you the motivation. You're like, that's what I
yeah,
need to do though. This is where I need to go, you know? And it gives
yeah.
you that idea. One of your posts recently were about sacrifice a few years of comfort for decades of freedom. So as you said there about walking away from things that you actually hate, how do you get people onto the right path of that?
How do I get other people, or how do I get myself?
How would someone, even yourself, like did you start scoping out what you wanted to do? Did you start thinking about this was a possible path you wanted to do?
For sure. So I thought of how my ideal day would go and what
Hmm.
it was going to take to get there. And then I wrote out a game plan. Of course, my app and my book are called Game
All
Plan as
goes
well.
back.
Selfless plug. Still can't believe I have that username. But so I thought of a game plan of how to get there. And I said, in order to do this, I'm going to have to pretty much not go any nights out, not fuck around Dublin, going to have to work on my fitness business nonstop, lay the foundations for 3 years. And you could go back to my videos, 2014, 15, and 16. There was nothing glamorous. There was no Marbella villas. So they were, when I said that caption, that was exactly what I was referencing. I was referencing those years, kind of in the trenches when I had nothing going for me and I was just kind of building from nothing. I had no
Mhm.
job opportunities, I had no connections to get a job. I had nothing. I had about €400 in the bank, and I spent that on a Canon G7X and kind of went from there. So that was the reference of that caption I was talking about. And if anyone else wants to do that, you need to just put together a game plan for yourself and be extremely honest and be prepared to
Mhm.
work and be prepared to eat shit. Be prepared to live in places you don't like and do stuff that you don't want to do, because to think you're just going to get your dream life set up or your dream job straight away is just the audacity of thinking that. Like, it's just actually entitled behavior, and it's unrealistic as well. So when I
Mhm.
wrote that caption, that's what was going through my mind.
Yeah, because it's quite like a culture at the moment where it's like, oh, like, you leave your job and everything clicks. It's like, oh, it just works all together. But that's the opposite. Like it's like it only starts. And it reminds me of like in the startup world when a company raises capital, like everyone like cheers and there's like a TechCrunch article, but it's like now the work starts. You are only beginning now. And it's
Yeah.
quite this exact same, So especially in the early days or even moving on, when you were like, let's say you're working on your coaching in the beginning or you worked on your ebooks in the beginning,
Yeah.
what type of like unit metrics were you looking at? How did you know it was going to work here in terms of like a financial perspective? Were you trying to look for like 1K a month, 2K a month? How did you know you could test your idea and it would work?
So I was earning minimum wage at the time in Ireland. I think that was about 2 grand a month. I'm not sure what it is now. And I just said, I just need to beat that. And I say, once I beat that, earn more than 2K a month, I do that for 3 consecutive months, which is crazy to look back on. Like, yeah. And this is kind of at the time when like, this is 2000 and maybe 14, 2015. And like, it was much harder to make money online back then. It was not impossible, but even the phones you have these days, like, and even like you've got TikTok, you've got like Instagram Reels, like it's never been easier to get your
Mhm.
message out there. There's kids blowing up in a month, and they all of a sudden they've got this like an audience of 1 million, and they can just use that to promote their business, whatever that may be, or start a business around that audience, which is an even better approach to do. But so back when I did it, it was like not that common. It really wasn't. Like, you had YouTube vloggers, and that was it. There was no such thing as Instagram Reels. You couldn't even post like a video on Instagram. I think it was all just
Photos
square,
only.
it was a square pictures. You couldn't even do the long one. It was like this. There was no TikTok. There was only so much you could do. But my goal was just to make more from online coaching and ebooks and fitness in general, working with brands. But that didn't really come for a couple of years. But make more from fitness than from my 9 to 5 job. And so that magic number for me was getting over 2 grand a month for 3 consecutive months. And I think I made like 2.8 or something for like 3 months in a row. And I was like, yes, I'm done. And then,
I'm out of here.
yeah, it's literally, yeah. I said to my boss, who was like totally cool with it at the time, he was probably looking at me like, when I look back and like, I even see my face, when I was like 22, 23 at the time, I see my face and he probably looked at me, I don't know what age I was in, 40s, 50s, whatever. He probably looked back at me and was like, oh, this guy is like a kid. Like I would look at an 18, 19
Yeah,
year old
man.
like a kid nowadays. So he probably just looking
Mm,
at me like, oh man, let this kid just go have fun. So he was
yeah.
super cool about it. He was like, Rob, go do your thing. You're doing fuck all around here anyways.
That's exactly it. But it's kind of good that you didn't have that many options, though, if you think about it. Like, even so, forget about the work side of things, but even with Instagram, you could only put up photos of like workouts or your abs or like you and Ibiza. That was basically it. And then on YouTube, then there was like, vlogs and whatnot. So maybe that singularity focus gave you the propensity to move forward. Whereas
Yeah.
now, like, you could be shilling a crypto, SMMA, ecom, agency,
Drop
startup, SaaS,
shipping.
but there seems to be so much going on that even when I speak to like other guys who are like, working hard on the online world, your mind's always going everywhere. So do you think you kind of had a clearer focus because it was just like internet fitness for you?
Yes, yeah, and I think so. This is an Elon Musk way of thinking. I saw him do an interview on this, and it's how he kind of approaches things, and it's always just stuck with me. He'll put 100% focus on one thing at a time until it works, and then he'll move on to the next thing. Obviously, he has lots of projects, but this is just what he said in this interview. And so, when you spread your focus on many different things, you actually achieve nothing. Instead of like being like zoom, laser, zap, boom, blow that thing up, and then move on to the next one. And I think that's just a way better thing. Instead of being a mile wide and an inch deep, just be super focused on one thing at a time. So I think it was great. Like all my main focus was YouTube, and that's why I have such a fond kind of attitude towards YouTube, and it's just done the most for me. All I had was that, and Facebook and Instagram was just a bonus to that. But YouTube was my
Mm.
main source of traffic, and I would just focus on building an audience there. And there's even still people like, just when I uploaded my prep series episode 1 yesterday or the day before, there was like just comments so nice, like people like, oh Rob, I've followed you since day 1, being a subscriber, like can't wait for this series. And I'm like, that is actually like the best thing for me. That makes me
Mm.
so happy. There's three things that make me really happy in what I do. And it is, one, comments like that on YouTube warms my soul. Number 2, if I get a message, an email, DM saying they followed my fitness advice and they transformed their physique and they live a better life now, that is amazing. And 3, just when they follow not my fitness advice and just, someone says, hey, I really like what you do and the stuff you put out and it improved my life. So just when I hear feedback like that, it just makes me so happy to know that I've made a positive impact on someone's life.
Man, that community that you've built, and like same with Joey D and a few of the OG guys, have it's so unique. Like, so I was interviewing TM Cycles last week, and he was exact same. He went through, coming out of gear and going into functional fitness and doing a few other things, and he said that some guys would comment on on his YouTube being like, "You could start a chess channel and I would watch it," and he's like, "That means so fucking much to me." But it's
Yeah,
sick though, because even when you uploaded that video, man, the first thing I thought about was the day before you competed in Ireland, you had a YouTube video. You were like on a treadmill, like doing your steps or something beforehand. And I remember that was one of the videos which made me want to go compete.
yeah,
And then a couple of years later, then I did it. And then like, it was just a weird how like flashback comes back in your head. So
yeah,
it's interesting, like the impact you can have on someone years on, that
yeah.
habits forming, business forming, everything can all center around some people's content, which is why it's so important to document what you do.
Exactly. And I think an interesting thing there, you said years on. So one thing that is so important when you're building that hardcore community is just time. It's just when you've been putting in the episodes, you've putting in the reps for just so many years. It takes time to build that community, and it takes time for people to warm to you. And so there's just like being an OG, doing it for a long time is what builds that hardcore community. You even look at guys like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's been doing his podcast for what, a decade?
12 years, 12
12,
years.
12 years longer, and that's why he's got like the most hardcore community on the internet. It just takes time. And the guys that, they may be blown up in a month or blown up overnight, that's great, but they need to keep on going. And, because people will just see them and they'll be like, oh yeah, I know they are, but you won't connect with someone. That takes time. So, that's why I really like doing what I'm doing and why I have no plans to stop. I want to keep going.
How do you build a community?
By providing some sort of an illicit emotional response with people. Okay. So you need to provide something, be it entertainment, information, motivation, something that makes people feel something. And I took, this is quite funny. I took a course about 8 years ago when I was starting YouTubers. It was called like Jump Cut Academy or something. And it was it was actually really good. I paid for it and I got like the video course. And that was the biggest lesson from it. It was like, to get someone, invested in you, to build that hardcore community, you have to elicit an emotional response. And also make things that also helps with growing online, is make something that people want to share. So
Mm.
that's how you do it. And also improve their lives, of course. That goes without saying.
That's why fitness is a really good element, because it's kind of like, you can get shredded, get fit, get healthy without actually paying for your stuff. So you're
Yeah.
not really like punting coaching all the time. Whereas, like, in contrast, we're using the SMMA as an example. That can only work if you buy my course, and you will
Yeah.
only get value if you buy my course. Does that make sense? So
Yes,
maybe the fact
completely.
that health and fitness is not revenue generating is maybe why it works.
It definitely is. And I think it's something that it's not just like for bodybuilders, for example. It's like everyone wants to be
Mm.
healthy. It's the most important thing in life. And like, I believe, like, of course I'm biased in saying this. That's why I think like the health and fitness space is so big, and that why, it's such a big business even, is because everyone needs to get fit and healthy. Like virtually everyone. Not everyone needs a social media course. Not
Yeah.
everyone wants to grow a business, but it's something that's common across virtually everything. So I think that's why the fitness industry is so strong and so big, and it's growing the way it is.
In terms of just sticking on a community aspect, because I think that's really interesting, was there anything different you did in terms of, apart from like providing value, but let's say like, did you have a newsletter? Do you have an email list? Did you have lots of like call to actions? Was there like any way in that persuasive language that you were able to actually build a community from like a numeric perspective? Because that's kind of like the glue that seems to hold a lot of this together.
Here's something that you didn't mention there, and it has probably been the strongest thing. I have met so many of my subscribers in person, like thousands. Alphalete, we did a world tour. We
Hmm.
start in 2017. We started in Dublin, London, Amsterdam. Then we went to Toronto, Chicago, and there was one oh in Florida. And then like I
Fuck.
think Texas. We did that world tour, and like so we would do these meetups in every city, and thousands of people would come to it. All the YouTube videos are there. Like at the Dublin one, 4,000 people showed up to Raw Gym. There was like a line down the street of Sandyford. It was so insane. And so me, Christian and Ryan, everyone who was there, and for every meetup we did, and this isn't counting like, for example, other meetups that I've done on my own, other ones that
Yeah.
I've done with Joe. Me and Joe did one in every city in Australia. I've even done creator agency events. I've done expos, Body Power, um, LA Fit Expo, every expo. Okay, I've done talks. I've met so many people in person, and when we were doing those Alpha ones in particular, we would not leave until we met everyone, had a chat, grabbed a selfie, and met the person behind the screen. That's more powerful than any email list or any DM or anything. Is just meeting people in person, and that's one thing I hated about the last like 2-3 years prior is that all events and meetups and traveling around were cancelled, because that's how you build a super connection, is going up to someone, locking hands, pulling them in, and saying what's up, and giving everyone great energy. And I can hand on my heart say I lose my voice at every expo
Hmm.
because I'm extremely enthusiastic, and I just can't believe. I still can't believe, even in the gym, if I meet someone's like, hey, love your stuff. I just can't believe that. So I'm always so grateful. But that's what's built the most hardcore community ever, is meeting people in person and giving a good enthusiasm.
That's probably what's kept you going as well. Like that's
Yeah,
given you the consistency, I guess, because I know when in the beginning you were posting like once a day on Instagram. I don't know if you still do at this stage, but
yeah.
that
No, now
feedback
every like
loop,
couple of days, but yeah,
yeah,
uh,
but that feedback loop is so positive though.
yeah.
It's helping you understand your business, understanding what people want. You're creating content around it because you were actually out there on the floor, actually fucking learning than just hypothesizing in a bedroom, but getting pissed off that the algo isn't working.
Yeah, man, you can troll the internet, so you'll never find me complaining about the algo once. I think it is the most pathetic thing when I hear somebody, the algorithm. I'm like, you can complain about anything, and you're getting mad at a social media algorithm that, like, odds are you just suck as well. I'm like, you posted shit. It's like it's just a shitty post, and then people are like, the algorithm. Oh man, you've never found me. You cannot. I challenge anyone listening to this. You will never find me doing that. But it's so funny. Like I've posted something before. Like, it just sucks sometimes. It's the algorithm. But yeah, never complain about that, and just turn up and get it done. And if a post tanks, you're probably kind of also posting for the wrong reason. Like
Mhm.
I post, like if I do a post, I'm like, oh, I like it, and it might
Yeah.
help someone out, And if you're like always just posting just for validation, you're gonna get sick of the whole social media gig. You're gonna just get burnt out and tired from it.
Yeah, man. I say you've seen so much shit come in and out over the last like 10 years. It's just
Yeah,
ongoing.
and a lot of people as well. Like a lot of people will come in and they'll do a year or two and they just give up. That's what most people really actually.
A lot of people come in and out for the wrong reasons, whatever. But for you, you've had very humble beginnings, and you've touched on you touch on it sometimes about, when you're growing up in your teens, you had a couple of difficulties with your family. There's a couple of challenges at home there. How much has that influenced your life? Do you think?
I think it's definitely influenced a lot, and people, so many people definitely have probably a wrong idea about my beginnings as well. And people will just hear an accent, or they'll see where I grew up, what school I went to, and they'll just assume that I've had it easy. They'll just assume, oh God, yeah, this guy's never had to push himself. He's never had to do anything, and I've just started taking it on the chin. And people can think what they want. One thing
Mhm.
that social media and doing an online business and being a content creator has taught me is makes you not care about the online comments. It's actually made me pretty bulletproof, and even, well, no one even says shit in real life, but it makes you just quite bulletproof in general to criticism and rejection. Even you're just like, whatever. So yeah, you get some feedback like that you might not like, but honestly, I don't even give it a second thought.
Of course, of course. Especially when you said that you were making your early content in your house, and it was like you were jumping in and out as people coming in and out of you. Was that another kind of driver as well? Because you're like, this is kind of potentially a life I want to leave, and I want to move towards one that I want to
Yeah.
aspire to.
So that was my first goal, as far as I can remember, ever. It was being able to move out after I could quit my job, of course. And that was obviously I don't know if that was even a goal. That was like a must. But then after that, I was like, okay, now my next goal is to be able to move out and rent somewhere that I can record videos in peace, and live in peace as well. Somewhere that I like. I think that, and that's actually something that's probably stuck with me even when getting this place. I think where you live, especially if you work online, you work at home, I think your atmosphere, like, you spend so much time at home, I think
Definitely.
where you're living is just has such a big impact. So that was actually my first goal when I was living in that shared accommodation place that I absolutely hated. It was to be able to move out. And I remember my rent at the time was, I think it was like 1,800, and it's so funny how for a nice place. And now
Yeah.
rent in Dublin, like 6-7 years later, is like, for the place I was in, it would be like 2,500 now. I would say at least,
At
actually.
least,
So
man, at
yeah, oh,
least.
at least, because it was like a nice modern two-bed apartment. And so it's crazy. Yeah, that's how much my rent was at the time. And I was earning maybe like, yeah, 4 or 5 grand or something from, in the early days, which was still awesome. That's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
like a
yeah.
great, doing something I love. But yeah, so that was my first goal, was to be able to move out.
Fuck, man, that's super interesting. In terms of environment design, how has that kind of happened for you when you moved to London and then moved to Marbella? Because I suppose Marbella would have a different clientele of people than there are in London, but I
Yeah.
guess majority of your mates and your network of people are going to be online anyway.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the reasons I moved to London, was to be able to network with more people. And then, of course, I moved to London in January, February, March. I remember, was it March 17th or 16th that the pandemic
It
like hit?
was
It's something like that.
uh
It's like March
March
20th.
16th.
Yeah, March
Yeah.
16th. Yeah,
I was
before St. Patrick's Day. Yeah.
Man, I was
And
flying to Thailand that exact day. I was in Dublin Airport. I was in fucking Terminal 8 of Dublin Airport, and everything locked down, and I still flew to Thailand. Fuck it.
yeah, yeah, nice. At least got out. But yeah, so January, February, March, I had in London, and it was amazing, meeting loads of good people, doing podcasts and everything. It was awesome. And then that happened, and I was like, oh God, I'm here paying Kensington rent. And I'm just locked inside my place. And now I still had a pretty good year that year. Actually, I love London. I think it's like the hub of Europe, like probably even the hub of the world. It's an amazing place. And I've got, again, to go back there in the summer to do a few podcasts, and just want to go there again. But it was amazing, but I was locked down in 2020, and then 2021 was more the same. So then end up seeing somewhere that I knew, that I've been to before, has amazing weather, amazing gyms, and that everything
Mm.
was pretty much open. It's kind of like Marbella, kind of like the Miami of Europe. It kind of stayed open, and it's got the yachts, the supercars, the good gyms, the weather, and a lot of entrepreneurs as well. So yeah, you meet some interesting
Mm.
people in both these places. But like you said, a lot of my friends, Christian and Max, they're in Texas. Mike is in Dubai. I've got a lot of people in London. Everyone's fairly spread out. And I think in today's day and age, especially now after the last couple of years, it's not that important where you are. And I think the real networking goes down online.
Yeah, that's exactly my next question was going to be: do you think your life would be much different if you stayed in Ireland? If you had stayed, even building your business, but just from Ireland, would it be largely different?
Yeah, so I was, back in Ireland about 6 days ago. I go back more or less every month. Sometimes I actually even go back for like, well, I was back there for a day, literally, because I had to sign a contract to open a bank account for Fuel Cakes Ireland. And so sometimes I even go back. Once I've gone back last month and like I didn't even post or story it, I was there for such a short time. It was just dark, they constantly and raining. So
1
there's not
p.m.
none of
Fuck
you
me.
post. Exactly, dark at like, yeah, one. So I go back so much that I don't feel too disconnected. There's a direct daily flight for €30 from Malaga, so I pop back a lot. So I don't feel too out of the loop at all. So I think it would be, quite similar, and I still would have traveled a lot. But if I
Mhm.
ever need to go back to Ireland, I just zoom back. Europe is like smaller than America. Like it's quicker to go from Marbella to Dublin than it is to go from LA to New York.
And it's cheaper as well, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jesus
So,
Christ.
I'll probably settle in Ireland in a few years. But at the moment, I'm glad I did things the way I did. I think there's only so much you can do. It's a small country. Dublin's a very small place, and I think that you should live in as many different places as possible and see as much of the world as possible. That's something that I believe strongly in. How much can you really learn if you never leave your hometown? you know how much
Mhm.
can you actually grow? Like if you see the
Mhm.
same people, you go to the same places every weekend, you sit in the same pub, the same fella pouring you pints, there's only so much you can do.
You become the bartender, and you become the product of all of like your parents' friends and everything. That's what happens. You just
Yeah,
become that
yeah,
individual. So it's not like you
yeah.
look down on it. It's just the fact that basically you learn from being away from that environment and meeting other people, like being in London, being in Singapore, being in the States. Those are the people, and it's a natural tribe that you'll amass then from being in those regions, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and also another thing. So, like when I went to London, you kind of have to learn how a place works. You learn how. I'm like, I got a bill for council tax. I'm like, I'm a real Londoner now, and you got to figure out how to pay it. And then when I'm in like Marbella, I have to go to the lawyers to get my license for the house and everything, and just actually living, not just visiting, living in different locations, you just learn how to do life and you learn how to set up more efficiently in different places. So I think that's something very interesting. There's something to be said about not only traveling to different places, but living in different places.
What advice would you have for someone who's young and wants to move away?
You're going to need to make some form of income online, in my opinion. If you go to Singapore, for example, unless you can speak the language, I don't know how far you're going to get. So I think you can't be location dependent, not a brick and mortar business, unless you can kind of move it online or put some aspect of it online. I think you need to make money online. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of escaping the matrix and being free
Definitely.
is that you need to use the internet to your advantage. It's the biggest thing in the world. AI is going to come next. It's going to make things even bigger. And if you are not leveraging that combined with social media, which is another integral part of our lives, if you're not leveraging these things to your advantage, you're going to get left behind. So that would be my first thing, is to find some way that you can make a living without being location dependent. And I think that's so important if you do want to live life on your own terms. I think that like after
Yeah, man.
that, like let's say you make a good living online, you can do whatever you want. You can literally do whatever. You can go wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. Like that's the ultimate thing, is to make money from
100%.
social media and the internet.
And like this isn't like financial advice, but like you can literally move your company to anywhere and also
Yeah.
like not necessarily have to be, like taxed in a certain location or whatever. Like there's ways and means around like everything. And like by just putting your head with the fucking sand and saying, okay, I want to go like live a more like open life.
Nomadic
Like that's
free
yeah,
lifestyle.
yeah. And like it's not even about just running around a backpack all the time. Like you might want to go. to Spain, you might want to go to Portugal, you might want to go to Greece, you might want to be able to move around, but you need to have at least that drive to be able to do it. But man, you literally escaped the Matrix before like the Matrix became a thing. Like you,
I was doing the online business thing like years before the pandemic. Like I'm like, I just want to move to London. It's literally not going
yeah,
to make a difference to my business. And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, great, grand. So I'm
yeah,
not gonna do anything. So yeah, I was early to the game. I think I was actually I was the first online fitness YouTuber in Ireland because no one
definitely.
fucking else doing it. And I was probably one of the first to do online coaching at scale as well, and also develop an app around that in Ireland. I'm sure there was a few people doing a few little email PDFs or what have you. But as far as I know, there's still now there's loads of people doing it, but back in the day there really wasn't much.
So your products have really like expanded, but they're obviously in the same like idea. So like you've had services, which is your online coaching, which I'd
Yeah.
be interested to get into in the beginning. Do you think that online coaching isn't really scalable, or is it scalable? Like how did you build it out? Because you became very well known for online coaching, but like
Mm.
how does that work from a scalability perspective?
So I was doing it all like one on one myself and charging very low prices at the time. And that's why it's so important to build up an audience, because you build up that supply and demand. You increase your
Mhm.
audience, more eyes on your business, the demand goes up. So you can, raise your prices and you can improve your product around that as well. So at the time I was just doing it one on one, very like medieval, doing it like with PDFs, and I'd have to like change the PDF. I'd have like some templates, and it would take me hours, like hours. And then in 2018, I developed an app which was called Lipsett Fitness. Now I've
Mhm.
rebranded it to Game Plan because I want to build something bigger than me, and I think it's a cool name as well. And so in 2018, I built the app, and basically, when you sign up, you put your details in, and the app calculates your training nutrition program, and macros, meal plan, grocery list, what exercise you can do, what exercise you can do, the split, everything, completely customized. And it does that, and I just look over it and make sure it's right. And you make sure it's
Mhm.
correct. So I provide that human touch. The robot hasn't taken over just yet, but most of the time it gets it completely right, and then I will check in with the person, or do the customer service, as you will, to make sure people are achieving results. And so that was in 2018, and that was the most scalable thing I ever did. That was actually, again, you can look back. 2017, 2018 is when I really started to travel a lot and kind of live that nomad lifestyle. And it was because of that. It was because of being able to scale my online coaching. So it started off me just doing it email PDFs, and then
Mhm.
developing a software around it, and then developing a team around it as well. So I hired someone to do customer service, app development team, sales team as well. And so yeah, just keep growing it from there. Graphic designer, videographer, editor. So yeah, there's some
Yeah,
kind of people that I work with to this
because
day.
you had Ben Keeley from
Yes, yeah,
early
big
on. You know what I
best
mean?
friend. Yeah, I
And
was
like
talking
my
about that last night.
but like you've actually blown up his stuff because you put him really on the radar, which is great. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to lift up the tide around you. But I
Of course.
remember like he stopped working with you because he was working with Red Bull, wasn't it?
That's exactly it. And now he's working with this like huge electric car company. He's like
Sick.
the head of creativity, creative director. He does all the videography, really high up in the company, killing it. And if you love something, you gotta let it go. So yeah, I
Yeah.
was happy to see him go really far. But yeah, he's smashing it, and we're still best friends.
Man, isn't that's a cool like example of like when you help other people around you, like what they can potentially do. And like this is why people always ask me, like, how do you network? How do you network? And I'm like, people will see you as someone who's ambitious, who's eager to learn, who wants to learn. And as a result, they'll actually put their hand over you and bring you along and then propel you forward. People
Exactly.
think that this is
Another
fucking
example of that, yeah, just what we're on it is Louis Armstrong as well. He
yeah,
reached
yeah,
out
yeah,
to
yeah.
me, started doing some video work with me and also Mike Thurston, and then now he's like built his own personal brand around that. Like he's a killer videographer, and then he started his YouTube channel, grew that, started working with loads of brands. Still gets hard to do loads of good videography jobs too, but yeah, that's another person, and it's such a good feeling when someone in your circle, you give them that leg up, and you see them just just kill it, rise to the occasion. So it's such a good feeling to just see your circle win. I think that's one of the best feelings in the world. That's up there with people dropping me a message and saying, they improved their life with the content when you're just improving your friend's life.
Yeah, man, I love it because I'm 1,000 steps behind you. But even if anyone ever messaged me about like a podcast or whatever, I always like hop on a call. I always like try to help them out any way I can potentially do, just like some basic kind of steps, because like this literally has changed my life. Like I've literally like built like my life around recording
Yeah,
to random people on the internet. Like how the fuck would I be able to connect with you in Marbella? Someone that I would have
yeah,
watched his videos when I was like 16 years old. It's like not possible. So I think like podcasting is like the intersection between like networking, online business, and everything, because it's just like you fucking have that connection. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So
I
I
think
tried
it's
to,
probably one of the strongest platforms is podcasting, because doing that long form content, it's almost like giving a talk, like in person. The way I spoke about doing events, doing a
yep,
podcast. It's like I personally watch so much podcasts, and when I'm having a meal, I'll put on a podcast, and I'm like,
yeah,
I am getting so attached to this person. I am eating dinner with them.
yeah.
I'm like, they're, I'm like, Chris Williamson is talking to me
He's a
while
G
I'm
man.
having my lunch. I was actually on his podcast.
You were, you were on
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it was like episode
yeah.
300, I think, in
Yeah, he
around
was
that.
using
Yeah,
an iPhone or something. Yeah, so again, everyone starts the iPhone. But yeah, when
everyone
you do
starts
that,
to
when you do a podcast with people, or when you watch a podcast, it builds up, like we spoke about, builds up a killer community.
just trust, man, because like I'm here on like a fucking Friday night at 11 p.m. and I actually wouldn't want to do anything else. That's just the reality, because this is what I wouldn't want to spend it on any other with anyone else. But it's
Hey,
basically though.
Friday night. Let's crack open the beers. I
But if
would
you think
actually
about
have
it
a
though,
beer. I would have
yeah,
a beer, but I'm doing obviously 90 days prep, no
yeah,
alcohol.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Man,
excited for that.
I haven't drank in like nearly a year. Like when it comes to,
What?
as an Irish person, man, my last time, like, see, I'm no angel, right? The last
Yeah,
time I drank was in Ibiza,
yeah,
and I was in Ibiza for 7 days. I was there for 7 days, and I came back, and then I was like, where do I want to get to? Who are the people that I want to be like, and
yeah,
where do I want to get to? And what is it that I'm doing that they don't do? They don't go out all the time. Now, I wasn't out all the time, but as an Irish person, you know yourself that when you go out as an Irish person, it's not like about having a drink. Like
yeah,
you not don't get slaughtered, but you just drink a lot as a result. So I was
yeah,
like, let me remove this element. So I think I'm like past like 8 months now, roughly. I'm roughly or not. And honest to God, man, I've like never felt better. Now, of course, I still like feel like tired and shit. Like I'm not trying to say like I'm a monk, but for me, at the weekends, I can wake up super fresh. I can train really hard. I can have better relationships with my girlfriend, my friends around me, all this kind of stuff. So I really, really do like back it. I don't say that I wouldn't do it forever. I'm just saying that where I'm currently at, like I'm in the 2014 Rob Lipsett phase. I would say,
yeah,
I I'm not smart enough or rich enough to be out pissed all the time. I'm just
yeah,
not.
yeah.
So I need to do this for myself. I don't know how you feel about it from like a training
I'm
perspective.
so into that. I've never done the full year. That is, well, when 2014, 15, 16, I think I would have drank maybe a handful of times a year. And it's when you're at your best. It's when you're at your best. I don't know how people even deny that. I don't
Hmm.
know how people actually fucking argue with saying that it's fine. Like, to saying, like, how is it logical to say, oh, I'm fine getting pissed every week? Like, how would that not affect your life? Like,
Hmm.
what? No. And this comes from somebody who loves to go out drinking. But when I'm at my best, it's when
Hmm.
you're doing monk mode. It's when you're not drinking. If you drink on like a Friday and a Saturday, like, right, your brain isn't firing on all cylinders until Tuesday or Wednesday. And so that's why I'm really actually looking forward to the next 90 days. Like, even the last time I did it was November. I think I didn't drink for most of November. And again, you feel like a superhuman. You feel
Yeah.
so sharp. So I would love that you said that. I'm definitely on the anti-alcohol bandwagon. And, again, I don't say this much, but alcohol is really negatively affected my family life. Growing up when I was younger, there's a lot of alcoholism in my family. And so, I think a lot of Irish people can relate to that as well. It's like the Irish drinking culture stereotype is completely true. You know, like if maybe someone's listening to this from a different country and they're like, "Oh, the drunken Irish," you know, like the cartoon. It's actually real. It's
It
actually
actually
fucking. It's
is.
actually real. Like there's such a huge drinking culture. Like in Ireland, if you say you're not drinking, people hate it. People get
Mhm.
awkward around you, like they shun you in a way. But it just improves your life so much. And so the 90 days I'm doing this, I'm really excited, and to just be fresh. And what in my 30 life lessons video that I did, I think it was like 3 4 videos ago, one of the things I said is one life lesson, forget what it was. You'll never regret waking up fresh on a Sunday. You will never,
Facts, man.
never regret it. Like you never gonna wake up after like a great sleep, watching a movie, making a nice dinner, even have a lie-in. Fuck it, get a 9 hour sleep in. You will
Yeah,
never wake up on a Sunday morning in a clean bed and say, "Oh man, I wish I was hungover as fuck. I wish I stayed out till 6 a.m. and had the fear and talked shit to all these strangers.
strangers.
Oh, this is what I'm gonna." It's the worst. So remove that, and yeah, you're on your way in the right track. And there's so many people. I actually think there's a huge trend online of people just are sick of drinking, and people that are
Mhm.
are just going the way of getting rid of it. Really,
It's all about just, if you want to be different, if you want to do something that's very like ambitious, you have to do the opposite to what everyone is doing. So if everyone's going out and getting smashed, buying fucking stupid clothing, doing all this stupid shit, you need to stop all doing that stuff. You know what I mean? If you're in this position whereby you don't have those means, and if all
yeah,
your friends are going out all the time, and I went back to Ireland at Christmas just to visit my family with my girlfriend, and it's getting to the stage whereby Chris Williamson said this, not me, but it's like you're almost the outlier. You almost have a problem if you don't drink. It becomes more problematic, and you look like you have an issue, which is the exact opposite. So
yeah,
what I recommend to people is that my honest reason is actually focus. It's just down to one thing. It's just focus. But if people, what I always say to people, and I record a video on this too, was that people feel insecure about that, because I kind of feel sometimes like, oh god, this fucking red pill dude. But
yeah,
if someone is a bit insecure about that, I just say, "Oh, I'm working towards like a fitness goal. I want to get like healthy, or just taking a
yeah.
break."
It's
And
hard to
people
argue
will,
with that, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, like do you really want to come between you and someone and their ambitions? That's
no,
what it comes
no.
down to, and that's insecurity. That actually is insecurity by dragging someone down and wanting to prevent them from being someone.
Yeah, and that's what makes people uncomfortable because they probably know they're like, I could probably do a bit of work on myself. I should probably stay in the odd weekend, and so that's
Exactly,
what makes
exactly.
people really uncomfortable. And the weekends, that's like it's like half your week. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's half your week, and like so that's why I am so looking forward to just being on top of my shit. Like, and so okay, there's another good one that I think, and Linda, my girlfriend's obviously doing it with me as well, and our relationship improves when we have no alcohol because our anxiety is lowered because you
Same.
have more time. Okay, so if you give yourself the reason I get anxiety is I let stuff pile up on me and I don't get my to-do list done. So, and the reason for that is not enough time and not enough productivity really. Self-love is being productive for me. So if I give myself 3 extra days in the week, I can take it fucking easy. I get everything
Mhm.
done. I'm like, my week just flows. I'm up. I have Monday completed on Sunday. And so
Dead right.
my anxiety goes down so much because I'm so much more on top of things, and because I'm giving myself like 3 extra days. So there's a lot of people and they're like, oh, I don't have time to get to the gym, or I don't have time to work on my side hustle. And you need to kind of examine your weekends because the weekends,
Mhm.
you got all the time in the world.
If you're fixed 9 to 5, if you're trying to get rid of the 9 to 5, if you're fixed for a certain amount of time, you need to obviously take sacrifices, and your weekends are huge there. And that was the biggest thing for me, man. The
Yeah.
early days, like, especially when I didn't know what I was doing, like, I was like fucking turning wires and shit, and it would take me like 6 hours on a Saturday. And my roommate at the time when I was living in Dublin would be like, "What are you doing in your room?" I'm like, "I'm literally like turning like shit into my laptop." But I
Yeah.
needed to do it. It was a necessary evil. You know what I mean? It was a pain I needed to go through in the short term for to try to get to where I wanted to go to. So it was important to do, and I think that most people will look at the time thing, because like you manage your time well, and there's so
Yeah.
much leaks in their time across other things. A
Yeah.
question for you on that is that, of course, like we're trying to like eliminate like stupid shit, but like your business is social media. but how come you've never? I'm not going to put it as like, do you ever feel like you kind of weigh in too much of social media and you kind of succumb to it and you find yourself just like going into that fucking vapor world sometimes without having distractions and drawing a line between it?
You mean like scrolling or like, spend
Scrolling, but just consuming in general, like getting too
yeah.
involved with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that I had to check myself for about like a year or two ago. That I had to actually. So I said, I think it's like you put on your phone automatically turns on do not disturb mode. My one goes on at 6 p.m. and that's when I kind of disconnect and I stop. I try to really cut down on my phone time. It helps with sleep a lot as well. That's why when you were like, "Hey, do you want to do this podcast at 4?" I was like, "Let's do it at 3," because
Yeah,
I
because
try
you're
and
a
get
pussy.
everything done. Yeah, exactly. Because I try and get everything done as early as possible. And yeah, I cut down, I monitor my screen time. Like if you actually looked at my TikTok screen time, it's like pretty much nothing. I have someone, yeah, usually when like, not, I'm hiring them again actually, but when I was posting on TikTok daily, I got someone just for 3 months to log in and just post every day for me, and
Mhm.
like, I really never go on it. Like, there's so many people that are just trapped in it. But I am very careful to not let it consume my life because I know that it's like my job. So if I had my business, my job, and then I'm consuming mindlessly on top of that, my screen time would be like 24 hours. You know what I
Yeah, yeah.
mean? So I'm very careful to be a creator, not a consumer. There's actually a brilliant quote that I live by, and it's a picture of someone glued to their phone, and then they're on their laptop, and then they're watching their TV, and so they're
Mm.
just staring at a screen for the entirety of their day. And it says technology can either set you free or it can enslave you. So
Yeah, because
I'm choosing to set. I'm gonna help it set me free.
fuck man, because again, like when people are creating stuff, it's for people to consume it,
Yeah.
and then therefore, like someone's making money. Like there's always someone making money on the other side of the transaction. That's
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true. So yeah. If anyone's watching this and they're thinking, "Oh God, I'm just consuming, consuming, consuming. I'm not putting anything out there." Don't let it enslave you.
a nice way to look at it too is getting rid of all the bullshit. So I had to do a drain, and apologies for anyone that's listening, but I had to get rid of like 90% of people that I follow. I still follow you, Rob,
Oh
but
yeah,
because I
yeah,
want, because I wanted to get people that were like actually like that were interesting or motivating me or inspiring me or whatever.
yeah,
So I don't really use Instagram, but it was very important for Instagram because it was so much just bullshit that I was seeing. And
yeah.
then other platforms like LinkedIn, like so LinkedIn is my main platform because I write
What?
really, yeah, so I write really, yeah, I swear to God, for long form content. It's
No
huge
way.
for, bear in mind, in the B2B business space. Okay, take a step back. Everyone shits on LinkedIn. I'm gonna
Hold on.
dispel it in
Okay,
one
you
second.
you got
Come
you
on.
got okay. Fill me on LinkedIn,
Okay.
because I
For,
actually had a call with someone 2 days ago, and I'm probably going to hire them to do my LinkedIn. So let me know if it's worth it. Let me know your experience on LinkedIn.
okay.
I want to know.
So everyone's going on about Instagram, everyone's using Twitter and all this, right? LinkedIn has the highest net worth individuals all on one center platform.
Sure.
They're all close to the buy button. They're all in senior positions and they're all on there to either learn something or learn about a brand or learn about a company. As a result, when content is targeted towards these people, bear in mind that it's so easy to target the content because they're there consuming it right away. The average salary rating is like $60 to $80,000. Compare that to Instagram, and it's a 16-year-old boy, right? Basically. On top of that, then 1% of the platform create content and 99% consume content. On Instagram, 99% post content,
Yeah,
1% actually fucking buy. So
yeah,
you are the minority by posting as a result. So I just got on this like 2 years ago, pretty much like tiny page, whatever, and I was instantly able to book calls straight away. Because book calls right after that. Then we had to scale up, and there's a few other agencies at the moment, but they're all doing pretty well because everybody's on the fucking platform ready to buy.
yeah.
So even B2C or B2B, it's the strongest platform. And to prove this point, a lot of money Twitter guys who have done a great job, and a lot of them are on my show, and I like them a lot. They have
Money
all
Twitter.
moved,
I love that genre.
right?
Yeah, money Twitter. Yeah,
But they've all moved to LinkedIn though. This is the funny thing is that after all the shitting on it the last like 4 years, they all are on it now because they realize that the people there are way closer to buying. So the way it is from a business perspective. And I love it, man. I learned so much on that fucking platform. 100 of my guests are guys that I met on there. And they've been better to me than any professor. They've been more of a help to me than fucking anyone else. And it's all been free. That's what's so amazing about it.
Wait. Question. So do you not get the like premium subscription on LinkedIn? Like I
Well,
went on and they're like, "Hey, give us €100 per month." I
fuck
was like,
that.
"So does that not matter? No, do you not even
No, no,
get like
no.
the one that's like 10 or 20 a month? I thought like you had to get that to use it properly, but
No,
you
no,
can't
no,
even
no, no.
like. Is there not like so many features that stop you like if you
No,
don't
no,
if you
no.
don't?
So you can use a LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is like
Yeah,
for like a tech company or for like a founder or whatever.
yeah.
But you can still find the people that you want to, or you can create content. And if you want to send people a message, you have 300 characters. And to be honest, I've actually A/B tested it. I'm a fucking weirdo. The long messages to people are way less effective than
Oh
short
yeah,
messages.
I
If you
hate a
if you
long
keep
message.
if you keep something nice and short, nice and clear, something that's thoughtful, compassionate, whatever, it works a lot better. So I just was able to use the free version from it, and I was just like, yeah, it just works. And
Yeah.
yeah, you just build a bit of a name for yourself. Like nobody's doing it, so I just like to do things that other people don't do. That's
Okay,
what I look
so
at it.
if you were me, so you wanted to sell fuel cakes, you wanted to
Yep.
sell app subscriptions, and you wanted to sell high ticket coaching, and you wanted to get more people to watch your YouTube. How would you do that? How would you? What type of content would you do on LinkedIn?
So that's obviously a bit of different kind of brackets, but let's
Oh,
just put it
super
all up.
different. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But
we
let's just
went
put it
from
all.
pancakes to online coaching into YouTube.
Let's put it this way. So
Yeah,
it's health, right? It's overall health. You're creating content for like busy professionals or professionals trying to like accelerate their career and their health at the same time. Who is the biggest master at that? Dan Go. Dan Go was on my show. He started off on Twitter. What did he do? He moved to LinkedIn. He's smashing on LinkedIn as a result.
oh
He's
yeah,
just
we
creating.
follow it. Fit Founder.
Yeah, Fit
Is it?
Founder. He's a G,
Yeah,
man.
we
He's a
follow
fuck.
each other.
Yeah, I know he follows you. He's a G. Actually, that's the first thing I noticed. Actually, when I was on his page. But basically, he's done that. So he does long form content, helping founders, helping busy entrepreneurs, all these guys, and he'll go through the most basic shit because people want basic stuff, right? Walk 10K steps, drink 4 liters of water, get 8 hours of sleep, don't be a fat shit, and walk
Yeah,
around. And man,
yeah.
the platform just eats it up. And he has his newsletter, which has gone to like 40 to 50,000 people on it. Yeah, like it's sick. So we had a podcast. We did loads of shit together. He's a cool dude, and he smashed it. So he's done it. A few other guys, a few Aussie guys have done it as well that I didn't know of previously. And some of them, man, because the reason why is that you might not put a photo of your abs up there, but you put a photo of yourself looking kind of somewhat healthy
Yeah.
and fit, and then people behind the screen are like, "This is what I want." So your high ticket customer has
Mm.
now moved up the stage because
Yeah.
the average salary is 80K plus, if not way more.
Wild.
So
Yeah.
it's
So
wild.
when I'm taking on more clients for high ticket coaching, of course, I'll get people to fill out the form to apply for it, and let's say 1,000 people fill out the form. The questions are, what do you do for a living? What are you earning? How much are you willing to invest? All this, and of course, you contact the people who are the most enthusiastic and are in a position to invest in their health. And I presume that's just LinkedIn, like that's just the clientele you want. So yeah, I need to get on it. I need to get
Man,
on it.
100%.
And so, is it more like what are videos good on LinkedIn, or is it mainly text?
Text is
Yeah.
mainly the kind of best ones. Like if you have your posts from Instagram, a lot of them can be repurposed. So your
Yes.
posts can be repurposed, and if you do have like let's say good video, you can just repurpose them as well and just have them because you have the content bank. So whoever you give it to can just fucking dish it out. Um, and honestly, man, like you could do 5 posts a week or 3 posts a week and just absolutely rip it because you already have the brand, people already know you,
Yeah.
and like I'll give you a good example. Like one of my best mates in Singapore. He's like 50 years old. He's an ultra marathon runner. He's running across Malaysia, which is 450 kilometers. His name is Ned Phillips. He's CEO and founder of a robo advisory company. It's worth like 500 million, and that's where he's at. He's on LinkedIn. He's getting his coaches from guys that are LinkedIn. He's connecting with me. That's how we met. Um, so that's the people you want to work with. This guy works 80 hours a week. He's a fucking killer, and it's sick.
Yeah, one thing I've been enjoying a lot recently, I kind of started doing it in January because I'm just like, January time to go hard and everything, and so I
Mhm.
started writing threads on Twitter,
Yeah,
and I love the new feature on Twitter that it shows views, like so not just like likes, and I'm like, holy shit, these are getting like 80,000, 100,000 views. And I'm like, and it actually did convert to clients and app subscriptions and everything. Actually, I think it converted more than TikTok, and and I was like, I should still do it. They're also there. I should put those threads just on LinkedIn. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
man.
awesome.
And
Yeah, and it's funny how people like. I even love reading text. Like I love reading stories. Like I never ever have my phone volume on. Yeah,
never.
like never. So it's always on silent. So and like when someone puts loads of text on screen, like I'll hold the story down and I'll read it.
Yeah, that's why like subtitles exist is because people don't are not going to watch it in an office. Last
Yeah,
thing I
and
say
for
on
our
that though, just
terrible Irish accents as well, it just helps everyone understand a lot better.
that too. But basically, LinkedIn push different things at different times, right? So they'll push documents at the moment. And a document is just like a PDF. So your tweet storm or your tweet thread, you could put that into a PDF, fuck it up, and I guarantee you, man, you'd have like 20,000 views, 30,000 views on just that one piece of content.
I'm
Um,
gonna go all in on LinkedIn now. It's like
I,
the
I, so-
evolution of Rob.
it,
Like not a YouTuber anymore. I'm a LinkedIner.
but you gotta just work with what's around you. You know what I mean? Like you just gotta fucking work with it. But TikTok, I don't know. It's kind of not for
Yeah,
everyone, I would say.
yeah. A little bit wishy washy, but it's obviously a powerful platform. YouTube
Of
Shorts as
course.
well is awesome. That's
Hmm.
apparently that's going crazy.
Yeah, it's been big for my podcast as well, just to fuck a load of shit up there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
get it up there.
I think
Uh,
one of the great things about like content is to not like try it's and one thing that I do like about TikTok and shorts is to not care so much and just like you said throw stuff up, you get those reps in and Alex Hormozy actually made a really good um reel, funny enough, on quality versus quantity. Because when you're starting out, do the quantity, okay, do
mhm.
100 posts, then get the 10 best performing one, and then that's your quality. So then do those 10 more. But so at the beginning, you got to get those reps in and you got to do quantity.
Yeah, man, I do it a lot with our podcast clients as well. We just like push shitload of stuff, but you kind of want to know what you're testing. Though, what I would say is like, look at the feedback loop. Okay, it's this working, that's not working, and just see what's going on. I like the
Yep.
game though. Like, I'm very interested in the space. Like, I'm big into like the analytics side of it.
Yep.
I just like it. So, with your businesses, when you were getting, working there and you're trying to scale it up, what systems did you try to implement? Like you said there, you're hiring a dev team, a graphic engineer to bring you from that like 5K a month to 15 or 20 or 30,000 a month.
So it actually, as kind of like simplistic and vain as it sounds, it still does come back to eyes on your business and growing your social media. Like, just getting more people, impacting more lives. There's only so much systems you can do. Like, I'll
Yeah.
hire a graphic designer, I'll hire a videographer, I'll hire an editor. But what good is all these things if just no one is seeing it? Like, where is the traffic coming from? I'm not sticking ads on the side of the bus. I'm not putting ads in the Irish Times. Where is it going to be? What's it all
Mhm.
about? It's about growing your social media, like being on LinkedIn, whatever platform you choose. That's
Mhm.
how you're going to scale it up. So once you have all those systems in place, an app that can dish out training nutrition plans, an app developer, the editor, the videographer, it just comes down to actually building that audience. And in today's day and age, content is currency. And I know it's kind of like sometimes I hate to say that, because
Yeah.
sometimes I hate to be like social media is everything. Kind of is. How else are people going to hear about your business? So that's just the truth behind it. Now, the type of following you have doesn't mean if you've got a small following, you can't, absolutely kill it in business world. I know coaches who provide so much value. They have a hardcore audience. They've got like 10, 15K followers on Instagram compared to the girl who shows her ass, who has a million followers. She's not providing any intellectual value. No one's
Yeah.
buying her coaching. So obviously the type of content you do, it matters a lot, and the type of audience you have follows a lot. But to say, let's say that coach who has an audience of 10K, would he not be better if he built that hardcore audience up to 100K? If he still keeps that quality audience, of course his business is going to grow.
Yeah.
There's more quality people on your eyes. So once you have all those systems in place, it's about getting more traffic. As simple as that. And again, the traffic isn't in the local newspaper. The traffic isn't on the side of the bus. It's not at the bus stop. It's not in the back of a taxi. It's not on the Lewis when you look up. Oh man. So I've worked with a company. I won't name names. It's a physical company in Dublin, and they put ads on bus stops
Oh
everywhere,
my
and it did virtually nothing. Like it did. When's the last time you've looked at like an ad on a billboard and you're like, oh, sick. Well, I'm going 100 miles per hour in my car. Let me just stop and take down that phone number. So
God.
in terms of scaling your business, it's going to be about providing more value and increasing your
Hmm.
audience in whatever way possible. Email list, LinkedIn, whatever.
Did you ever run into challenges when you were growing in terms of like business operations? Like how the fuck do I handle this amount of clients or sales or orders?
Yeah, and of course, and that just comes down to outsourcing, hiring more people, and yeah, just looking for people to, kind of make things run smoother. But that's kind of the easy part. That's not too difficult. Sometimes the most difficult part about that is trusting people, to log into your account or to,
Yeah.
look after clients or to do customer service. But once you kind of let go of that and you say, look, I have no choice. The only way I'm going to grow this is to give people, to delegate. Well, then it's fine.
Yeah. You kind of like teach them the tools to kind of help you around the peripherals so you can scale.
Exactly. And that's also going back to Alex Hormozy, someone who's just blown up in the last 2 years. He kind of came out of nowhere and like he was a
Hmm.
big business dude before that. And there's a talk he did. I think it was like at some sort of YouTube conference. It's him giving a talk on like, the fucking projector or whatever. He's got a screen behind him and he clicks up Conor McGregor with the whiskey brand. He clicks up The Rock with his tequila brand. He clicks up Kylie Jenner with her makeup brand. And he was like, all these guys are billionaires. And he was like, how do I become a billionaire? He was like, what am I doing different? And he was like, oh, they just have a bigger audience. So he was like, I'm going to hire someone he pays his social media team, his editor, 60 grand a month. And that's why you see Alex Hormozy everywhere because he was just like, oh, if I want to be a billionaire, I'm just going to have to literally go hard on social media. So it's a
Fucking
really
hell, man.
interesting. I'll link it to you after. It's about a 45-minute talk, and that's how
Mhm.
he opens it. And so people think like social media is like a vain thing to get into. Tell me, do you know how else you're going to grow your business? How else people will hear about it in 2023? I don't. I'd
Mhm.
love to know. I'd love there's another way. Sometimes it fucking wrecks my head, but it's
And
just
it's
the way
also
it is. It's just the way it
it's
is.
it, it's also inbound as well. It's coming to you naturally, whether it's e-com or sales or whatnot. But Manny, when you mentioned about there about the rock and shit, so I had a call with this guy the other day. I better not say his name, but he's like running a sustainability like business, and basically he'll build brands that are sustainable, so like net zero carbon, all that kind of stuff. But he was telling me examples of these basic enough brands that are like doing like fucking eco bottles, but they'll partner up with celebrities. So his kind of job is to find a celebrity. He didn't find this one, but he was using an example that Logan Paul and KSI, when they did this latest one, whatever the fuck it's called, the drink is sold out for 6 months. So you
Yeah,
can't buy for 6 more months. And now people are selling it on a black market. So people are buying it
yeah,
in LA and they're selling it to people in fucking New York. And he said that it's white label. So to some extent it's white label. And basically they're using another example in Seoul and Japan, in Singapore, and a few other places around the world. And he was like, we just get a basic brand that says it's whatever, and we just attach a celebrity on it. And I
it's
was like,
wild.
he was like, it's literally that easy though.
Yeah, like it's literally just Gatorade. Like it's just Gatorade. It's Prime.
Yeah, it's
It's
Prime. Yeah,
an electrolyte drink. It's Powerade Zero. That's it. Like there's no new product. Like
fuck,
it's actually mind blowing when you think about it. It is just fucking Gatorade, and it's now selling for hundreds of dollars a pop. And that's just the power of marketing. That's the power of having an audience. and the power of building personal brand. Like, it's sickening. Like,
Mhm.
it's sickening to see, but it's just the reality behind it. So I found that really interesting, as that was what Alex Hormozy opened his talk with. It's a really
Mhm.
interesting talk. I watched it on a flight I was recently on. It was from the Maldives. I downloaded loads of ones, like, so
Sick.
I could watch hours of it. And yeah, I watched that, and I was just like, it's true.
I ask a lot of people similar to yourself about, has their relationship with money changed over time?
Well, so in what way? Like, do I
Like,
like it
at
more?
first, like, you're like, I want to just fucking get it, whatever. And then some people don't like appreciate it after a while. And some people then just do kind of mindless growth and kind of run with it. Do you think that you could kind of have like a level head when it comes to like managing your money and making sure you don't go off and buy fucking 4G wagons?
Yes. So I've actually the thing I spend most of my money on would probably be travel, which zero regrets doing that. And then, like, probably eating out. I love going to a good restaurant. But in terms of, like, buying loads of designer clothes and popping bottles, going to the club, buying tables, ridiculous shit. I could not bring myself to do that. But one thing I have gotten now that I've to make a good bit of money in recent years, that I have gotten more generous and got more generous with it, and I've understand that it always comes back. That if you made it first, you can make it again. Time does not come back, but money does, and it allows you to be a little bit more relaxed. And, like, so, for example, if I'm paying an editor 2 grand, 3 grand a month, in back in the day when I first started out, that would have scared me so much. I would be like, oh God, these videos better be perfect or I'm going to be screwed. But then when you have a bit of reserves in the bank, you're like, hey, I'll see how this guy does. Yeah, if he's, oh shit, all right, not too bad. So you
Yeah.
get a little bit more relaxed with it. And once you get this mindset, it's an abundance mindset. Once you have that mindset of like, hey, look, I'll try this, I'll put a bit of cash on that, and it'll come back. You're actually got a better relationship with money, and you're less. It comes to you easier. It comes to you easier if you view money as easy to get. It's gonna be easy to get. And I
Mhm.
saw actually perfect timing. Now that we're on the topic, someone I follow on Instagram goes, "If you think money is hard to get, people are spending like crazy. People are dropping $100 on Prime, and you can't sell your ebook, you can't sell your course, you can't sell something that actually gives people value. People are spending $100 on Gatorade. The money is out there. It's nuts. So once you get this abundance mindset and the mindset that money can be spent and it can be earned just as easily, you'll have better relationship with money, in my opinion. So that's how my relationship with money has definitely changed a lot. And also with my biggest purchase ever was this villa and renovating it as well. That has also taught me to keep a kind of a close eye on money as well. So don't be stupid with it, but it always comes back.
Yeah, man. I think when you have those capital expenditures like your house, it could put things in perspective, but it also shows you like how well you've done. Because sometimes when you see money in a bank, like it's all fugazi, you don't
Yeah,
really see it for what
numbers
it
on a
is.
screen. Yeah.
Exactly. But when you've had, like, a beautiful house, you've everything designed, you've everything done, it's like, whoa, the fruits of my labor has really paid off.
Yeah, I'm really happy. This is probably obviously the first like big purchase ever, and to be able to get that at 29, yeah, not 29 anymore, unfortunately. But I was like, I did that. I did it on. I saw it. I was like, we need to get this done before January 17th, so I can say that I got a filler when I was 29. But
That
yeah,
is
to get
funny,
that
man.
done, it was like one of the best feelings ever, and yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
I've often heard as well that this would change your perspective towards business. I was speaking with someone else as well the other day. They were saying that, the small client mindset of, like, someone being like, oh, I better get my money's worth for buying your gym program or whatever, that he has now like completely forgotten about that. And if someone's like, oh, is it going to be worth it? They're like, maybe not worth it. Just forget about it.
Yeah, I,
So
I saw a really funny one. It was on Twitter, and it was like a 2K client. It's like, why didn't you reply to me? 10K client is like, I'll talk to you next month.
literally, man, I'll pay
Yeah,
3 months up front.
crazy.
Again, I wouldn't mention this guy, but basically, it was very interesting. He said that is like a creative agency doing like creative, like professional artwork for like brands and stuff. That he set a price of a yearly retainer of 1 million with with a brand, and he waited like 11 months, doing outbound for 11 months, and he got it at the end of the 11th month and made 1 million a year because it's huge luxury brands or whatever the fuck they're doing, right?
Yeah.
But he had 1,000 offers for 500k, 200k, 100k, stopped them all and set his line in the sand, and I was just like, that is balls of steel, man. But it's back to the value abundance mindset. It's going to come. This is what I need to do. This is the line in the sand. And when I hear shit like this, and like these are people that I hang around with, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I need to be going 1,000 miles an hour, forgetting
Yeah.
about the $20 and just moving far ahead.
Yeah. What if the bigger impact you want to have, the more patience you gotta have. So you
Mm,
need to zoom out if you and work on a bigger time frame, depending on the impact you want to have. Like instead of being like, hey, I want to impact a few people, I want to build something this size, I got to get it done in 2 years. You got to be like, I want to build something huge, and I'm going to give it a decade, even more.
mm.
So the more patience you have, and the bigger your time frame is, the bigger the thing you're going to build. So just like what your man did there, he waited, and that's it. You to think in a bigger time frame.
How did you do that for yourself? So like zooming out of like, let's say like even like fuel cakes, game plan when you're building it, because of course in the beginning of it you didn't really know what you were doing.
Yeah. I think I actually just enjoyed the process, and I was really happy with where I was from the get go. Like when my first video got like 500 views and I sold like one program, I was like, this is the shit. I
The
was like,
first
oh
time.
my God. I was like, this is it. So like I'm a happy guy. Like I'm a happy go lucky dude. Like I was just as happy, if not happier, that when I made that, like when I had like one client and getting a couple of hundred views on a video, and like an
Mhm.
audience of like a few thousand. I think I was like just as happy, if not happier, back then. So I think just always enjoying at the stage you're currently at is integral. And let's say you are at a stage in your journey where it's less than ideal. Just think, in a few years' time, this is going to be that superhero moment. This is going to be like, it's like your life is like a movie. And when you're like grinding along, you're living a shitty place that you don't like, and things are a little bit tough. Say, this is going to be part of my story. This is like going to be the point in my like come up story. So I'm in this part of the narrative right now, and where like, let's say the movie is this long. I'm here. I'm about 2 quarters in with the movie. So that's how I thought as well.
How much people think gave up? What percentage at that point?
Oh man, it's it's actually quite consistent. People with fitness as well,
Mm.
and business. There's so much similarities, but I think it's like, I think actually in business, isn't it 95% of businesses fail on like a 3-year scale? It's something like
Within like
that.
within the first year, it's like 90, and then within the next 3 years of the remaining 10 is like 60%.
Yeah, and do you know what's actually got a similar kind of percentage to that is podcasts? I saw.
Yeah, yeah, man,
They
yeah,
don't
man.
make it past. Yeah, they don't make it past episode 20. Is that it?
Man, some no pod fail is 13, right? But the number that so there's 2.8 million podcasts. The number that are active, so I've posted it in the last like 6 months, is only like 1 million. And of
Yeah,
that, there's only like a handful that got to 7 episodes, 13, like 12. I'm pretty sure the ones that got over 100 are like me, fucking Colin, a few other guys have gotten
yeah.
over
Oh,
a
I know, I
hundred.
know, I love God.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I think like basically the people that are successful are people that stay in it, which is Chris Williamson. He was a club promoter, Love Island dude, and then basically just kept at the game. And he put up a post last week. I don't know, did you see this about like his 5 years? And the
yeah. So
graph is so
the
interesting,
green
right?
graph.
The green graph, because he's getting around his weekly downloads is around a monthly, should I say, is only around 5,000, 6,000 for almost 3 years. Okay,
Yeah,
and then it just goes vroom straight up. And
yeah.
his like come up moments are probably like Jordan Peterson. He had a
Hmm.
few other guys, but I think before that he had a few other ones that kind of kicked off. And to be fair, like Mark
Yeah,
Manson, that author and stuff like that. So basically, it took him 3 to 4 years to even be recognized. And again, I don't think he's anywhere finished in terms of
yeah.
where he wants to go to next.
He's unbelievable. And so, wait, question about the downloads thing, because I'm not familiar with the podcast thing. I go off like maybe impressions on Instagram or
Yeah.
YouTube views, because you can't see podcast views on like Spotify and even Apple Music or wherever. So what are our downloads? Like,
So
what does that mean?
downloads,
Like, does that mean I have to save the thing offline, or does it just mean I play it?
you've listened to like over 5 minutes, which means it's already saved to your device. So if you're on
Okay.
Spotify or Apple, if you've listened to the first 5 minutes, it's like considered a download.
Okay.
Um, and then that's being like saved to your device, and you're going to come back to it, whatever. But you know what's funny, man? I'm so deep down the rabbit hole that I don't look at downloads for clients. I look at retention, because
Yeah.
retention will tell you what's really happening under the hood. Because I know, like, I won't say it, but there's a podcast we're managing in Singapore, and they're like MTV girls, and it was like an unbelievable like setup podcast, and I was like, I wonder how much are listening to the full 100%. Probably very little. I wonder who's listening to 50%, 20%, 10%, and you'd be so surprised when people that drop off. Man, you've probably seen the same with YouTube videos, you know.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, yeah. And there's Mr. Beast has some really interesting stuff. I actually think his best podcast that he did was with Nelk boys. They're actually
Oh, never
really
saw
good.
that.
They're
Never saw
actually
that.
brilliant. I love them. Like I used to think they were just like these prankster guys. I started listening to their podcast. They obviously get amazing guests on. They have Donald Trump on and Elon Musk. Like, but they're actually like nice guys. They're they
Yeah.
get good conversations. But the Mr. Beast one was brilliant, and he talked about like all these tactics you can do to increase viewer retention. And he said like the most important things on YouTube, anyways, is, and maybe it's similar to podcasts, is one, getting people to click on video, so click through rate, and then keeping people engaged. So he'll say things like you make it interesting from the get go. And you have, like a movie, you have a beginning, middle, and end. So, like, to find out what happens, and they have to listen to the end to find out. And that's why also doing a series like my competition prep one is so effective, is because people are like, I want to see, does Rob come in condition enough? How does he place in the show? Does he win? Does he lose? Just like a series like Game of Thrones, you want to see what happens in the end of it. So I'd be interested to hear what type of, like, how would you increase retention on a podcast?
So that's a great point, and I completely agree with you. That aspect is storytelling. So like, you are a brilliant storyteller. Like, you always tell your story well, you tell the narrative well, and that's one of the aspects why people like love your content. But from a podcast perspective, a huge aspect there is timestamps. So
Oh yeah.
timestamps allow people to jump around. So everyone will go on to it and see, fuck, Rob Lipsett's on kickoff sessions. And they're like, oh, I'm busy, I'm working. But at 40 minutes, we were talking about this, and we'll jump into that point. And man, I can show you proof of my retention curves. But Matt Kelly, a guy that's on Twitter, it
Yeah.
has 95% retention. And the main
Oh,
part is the
oh,
main, and bear in mind, the only jump in it is when he talks about when his business went bust. He ran into mad like financial issues, and that's when
wow.
people look, because they were like, I want to know about this, clicked onto it, and they clicked into that part. So the curve is like at the very, very top for an hour and 16 minutes, and I guess peaks up at one point because people wanted that piece. So, and like,
Wow.
I like spend hours studying this shit, man. I'm so obsessed with it. And I did it deliberately, and I put a post on LinkedIn about it, and I was like this is like where the money's at. Like, it's not like the flashy shit. Like, that's just not where it's at. It's like, this is like how you turn it into like a fucking lifestyle, a business, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And that's so interesting that people clicked on the hard times.
The
People
heart
wanted to hear the struggle.
exactly.
That's like, you think people, I saw a good one as well. People think they want to, no one wants to see you flexing.
Yeah.
People, no one, that doesn't benefit, me with a Rolex and a G Wagon. People want to hear how you struggle, and people want to see you struggle. That's also why I'm doing this prep as well. No more fancy shit, just hardcore training dieting. And that's like when they skipped your man's part. That's what people want to see. Like, why do people want to see you flexing? And so that's so interesting that is the point that people skip to.
It's relatable as well, man, because people like actually have those struggles, and
Oh
like
man,
Matt,
financial struggles in today's day and age. Like, I'm pretty sure we're in a recession. I'm pretty sure
exactly,
we're
man.
in a recession. Yeah.
Oh man, it's exactly that. And that dude Matt, if you ever have time to meet him, man, if you're in London, he's a fucking sick dude. He like, he was 23 years old. He had like a Lambo Range Rover, had 900 cars, and like lost it all. And it wasn't his fault. It was during COVID. The supplier went bust, and
How
he
did
had
he
like
lose it?
So he was an ecom guy originally, okay, and I thought you knew the story. Sorry, so he was an ecom guy, made loads of money during drop shipping, made a couple of really good brands, made a jewelry brand before jewelry brands became jewelry brands like known for men, and then he went on to neon lights, so neon style lights. He did the lights for Love Island, would you believe? He did the lights for a few other ones, and he was getting them from China, and they're all custom made, like live, laugh, love, all that bullshit. And he was doing so much volume that he was like, "All right, I'm going to scale this. I'm going to bring it back to the UK." So he signed a huge partnership, brought it back to the UK. The supplier never told them that they were going bust, and they went bust during COVID. So he had so many unfulfilled orders, like 3 months worth of thousands of orders,
Yeah.
that the business just completely collapsed. A firm had to come in to give him a bailout, and he got like super depressed. Had to like sell. Like, I don't know if he had to sell everything as a result, but he sold everything inevitably, and he went back to like zero. And he's such a strong dude that he was like, right, gotta go again. Blank piece of
Yeah.
paper, and he was like, gotta go again. And now he's doing like a mushroom brand, a mushroom like a
Oh,
coffee
sorry. Yeah,
alternative.
I follow. Yeah, Matt.
Yeah,
His
Matt
username was
Kelly.
his username was like who? It's like it's
Yeah,
his
it's
username's
like
completely different.
match. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
Hoochius or something.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
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 we
yeah.
follow each other. Yeah, yeah. Oh my god. So space goods.
Space Goats. Yeah,
Yeah, that's his mushroom thing.
that's his brand. Yeah, his story is wild, man.
Oh man, so yeah, we followed each other. I was meant to actually his assistant reach out to me. I meant to go on his podcast. I did not
Sick.
know. Yes, that's when I'm in London in July. I'm going to jump on his. But that's so funny. I didn't even know all that stuff before.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's so funny. I just see Space Goods, the mushroom company, and doing like 1 million in its first year, and I'm like, oh, sick. Yeah, this
Yeah.
guy's killing it. Yeah, but you never
You never
even
know.
know the struggles. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'll be on that pod. Yeah. So
Yeah, man,
I'll do
he's
my
a
research.
yeah, do some because like, he's sick aesthetic and everything, but his YouTube,
Yeah,
like he does weekly he documents the journey.
yeah.
Exactly what you said, man. Like you're gonna get on really, really well. And like he went through a lot of mental health struggles, a lot of challenges around it, and now he's back, man. And it's like so sick. And that was the first thing I said to my podcast. I was like, I'm not impressed. Well, I obviously am impressed by the fucking Ferrari, but
Mm.
I'm way more impressed by the fact that you handle yourself in that scenario. And like he's done videos about him potentially trying to kill himself at times because it was so difficult because he was in so much, not necessarily debt, but he was in so much trouble financially. And he came back, man. And that was the whole point.
Everyone loves a comeback story. Like there's nothing better than that, you know. And
Mm.
it's so hard. Like most people, when they hit a low, they just stay there. They just cave. It's tough.
What do you think your toughest part was? A lot, like going on your business, like, in the last couple of years.
So at the beginning, it was just making it work. Like as simple as that. It was just transferring, getting out of Dublin and doing
Yeah.
something that everyone was just like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know, and just being kind of the first to do it as well. And you get a lot of hate, you get a lot of adversity, whatever. So that was difficult back in the day, and now it's just difficult. Well, I don't know. I hate the word difficult. I don't find anything difficult.
Yeah.
Now it's just hard to keep it going and kind of almost have to reinvent myself and look at different ways to reach new people and keep going. But that's a fun thing.
Yeah.
In terms of recent struggles, just as we were talking about financial stuff, after like so big. This is a good clickbait title. The biggest transaction I've ever done in my life. Like it was like the down payment for this place and then the renovation on top of that. It was like nearly 400K out of my account, like in one
Oh my
go.
God.
And I was just like, maybe this wasn't a good idea. You know? And then, I just kind of in a couple of months just comes back. And then I was like, oh, money was sitting in my account. I was like, what else is it going to do there? Might as well put in property. Hey, at least put in crypto. Oh, wait, I did. Yeah. But that was a scary one. And that's the most recent, like, scary thing, was
Yeah.
buying this place. But look, it paid off. It got valued very highly recently as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm very happy with that, and now the account's looking healthier as well. And
Over
yes, the
time, man.
next challenge, and then after that, of course. So I'll be talking about this fully on my YouTube channel. So I used a company that a lot of people use, won't name names, to launch Fuel Cakes and kind of do all the shipping and the handling for me. And I'll go into it more. But so we were in like strict contracts to work together, and we were doing like a rev share and equity and stuff like that. And so when the brand grew, there, you know, it was very tough to communicate with them, especially they were slow to reply, and just there was a communication breakdown. And so separating from them, getting my website back, and it's been a long year, and now I've had to find a new manufacturer in Ireland, redesign the packaging, build 3 new flavors, a new website that I've got to call for this after this, and completely just kind of restart the business again, kind of like Matt's story,
Yeah.
just after doing something really well. But then I didn't lose any money on that. Fuel Cakes made lots of money, so I put that into new thing. But that's been a recent challenge, is kind of setting that all up again. But you gotta just love the game and love the journey. But yeah, so the first thing would be getting just out of the Dublin rat race, and then the next thing would be, that was challenging, but I got it done, would be Fuel Cakes and also the Villa.
Yeah, man. You've
Game
kind of
plan's
given
always
yourself.
game plan's always just the coaching. It's all, see. I recommend most people just start with a service based business, because you can't really lose. You're not like buying
Yeah.
loads of product or stock. Of course, you're gonna have to pay for software, website, but nothing like massive, like nothing ridiculously big.
Man, you
And
could run your entire business off
it's like,
$1,000.
yeah, and it's not like physical, so
Yeah.
there's no like shipping, storage, customs fees, import fees. Service based business, digital. It's where it's at.
Easier to get started, man. That's exactly it. And then from you have the skills. You can go do whatever the fuck you want now at this stage. And I
Yeah.
mean, you're gonna learn
Yeah.
from it,
Yeah, I
man.
definitely think if anyone's listening to this, like, to look, and if they want to live that freedom lifestyle, say, what could I do? What service could I provide? What value could I provide with people? And, how can I make this online digital based?
Man, this was a sick conversation. Thank you so much once again. An hour and a half deep. I think we could go for another couple of hours, but
Oh,
I know
easy.
it's midnight here, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Midnight there. And then look, yeah, 4 p.m. is my bedtime. I switch off. Honestly, I'm dead to the world. I'm a
I have
morning guy.
4 lights beaming into my face,
Your
but this was a sick
circadian
session,
rhythm
man.
is done now. It is toast.
I'm a young dude, man. I'll be alright. But
Yeah,
man, I
thank
really,
you.
really
Thank you
appreciate
for
you
this
so
point.
much, though, man. Like, as in your work has been like a huge inspiration for me for many years, and I really, really do appreciate it. Though it's always great to be connected, and everything you do, I always wish you the best luck.
Man, thank you so much for having me on today. Really appreciate the chat. And round 3, gotta have to happen.
In person, man, in person. And I'm
Yes,
gonna
in
stop.
person, Singapore or Marbella. You choose.